Hi, I'm Shannon Papcun, and I teach fourth grade at Victor Falls Elementary, and that's in Bonnie Lake, Washington. And I was asked to talk about my experience with LDC, Literacy Design Collaborative, but as intentionally with the virtual coaching that I got. I also kind of am going to be incorporating this into the 5 findings in the article that you were reading. And the first finding was that literacy is not just the English teacher's job anymore. However, being a general education teacher, I teach all subjects, and so literacy design has the units that I have written are integrated with our social studies. The first 2 that I created, one had to do with our Washington state government, and so not only were the children learning about Washington state government, but they were learning about how to read nonfiction texts closely and how to write essays about the First Amendment. The second one that I wrote was about Washington state geography, and again that involved learning all about Washington state geography, but in the midst of that they were learning how to read nonfiction and write about nonfiction. Included in that, Sumner School District has all 4th graders have Chromebooks, so my kids are able to research online at any time that they want. I was fortunate enough, in the summer I started my literacy design training. There's 5 days. And then I was fortunate enough in the December, the 2 days, to be introduced to the trainer of literacy design. And so she introduced me to then someone who is a virtual coach. And she said, we've not had many elementary units being designed, and we would like it if you would talk to, her name is Jody. And it was wonderful because I was able to connect with her via email initially. They have something called Our Group Space that is their own website. And through that connection, I was able to not only just fine-tune, but understand really at a much deeper level about how to write an LDC unit. The second piece of your findings is working together, is working smarter. And that really is what something I felt this virtual coaching and what she was working with me. I don't think I could have had a unit as good as what I had without someone not really telling me what to do. She was my mentor, but at no time did I feel like I was doing something wrong. If she didn't understand something, she might say, "Might you try?" She's a 30-year veteran teacher from Pennsylvania, and she's taught LDC for years, and we hit it off virtually, which what I could have done, she offered twice to do a webcam so that we could discuss it. But as I was talking earlier, I'm not the most comfortable person to say things right away. I'm an analyzer, and I needed time I would send her parts of the unit, and she would send comments back. And then I got time, and it was also over Christmas break, so I got time on my own time, to take a look at the things that she had spoken or emailed me about. And then instructional strategy wise, she gave me some ideas, but another part of that was through Our Group Space is a website that has not just blogging about LDC, but there are folders, there are wonderful graphic organizers that she said, "Might you try?" And then I would look it up, and oh my goodness, that would fit perfect right in the space she said. And then there was another piece that I think it was, "What's instruction are you going to use?" And so then she said, you may want to look in folder such and such about this unit. They did something similar, and lo and behold, she didn't actually tell me to do it, but it was I just felt like I wanted to continue to learn from her because she was a wealth of information. My unit could not have been created, I don't think, as clearly without her. She was also someone to bounce ideas off of. I originally wanted, my 3rd unit that she helped me create was a life science unit, so it was about adaptations. So kids were learning about adaptations, but they were also learning about all the different types of texts you read in nonfiction. So they learned about problem solution texts and chronological texts, and they learned about compare and contrast texts. So they were learning all of those Common Core standards, but they were doing it, I was double dipping, really, which is wonderful for a general ed teacher to try and get in all of the science and social studies that is needed for the year. The other piece I wanted to talk about was instructional strategies. She didn't actually come out and give me any. However, with the LDC training, there were many times within that training, they would stop and have you share with your peers. And with the way they had you share was producing an instructional strategy of your own. So you really was a give and get, many instructional strategies that way too. So I got more that way. The third finding says, but schools aren't structured to facilitate educators working together. So it says the amount of time educators have for collaboration is small and it's shrinking. I just don't think this unit could have been as strong without her jurying the unit. She offered a lot of good ideas, but it was never, I never felt, even though she wasn't a peer, I didn't feel like it was a mentor that I had to really be careful of things I said. She was always extremely gracious about just about everything that went on. One of the things that I wanted to show was during the time, one of her little might you try, at the beginning of the unit, I wanted to break down the rubric so that kids learning nonfiction in 4th grade, that's fairly new for them to have to understand not only what am I going to be understanding, but how am I going to write about it. And so what I had them do is get into groups, and that was part of our day, part of our instruction was to write posters about the pieces of the rubric in I can statements. And so again, because we're tech savvy, we had presentations for 4s, for 3s, for 2s, for 1s. And then she had said, might you add, another person added an icon for each one. And my kids absolutely love that. I did not help at all, but if you look, one of the ones, and I don't know if you can see it, but so focus, they thought, well, if I can remember focus, it's because I'm going to focus with my eye or focus with a magnifying glass. Organization, they wanted to put some files in there to remember. I need to organize, my paragraphs have to be organized. I like this. This is very kid-friendly. Controlling idea. I'm going to control the idea throughout, but they used a video controller. Reading research, they had to remember to source, and so they used a video camera because a lot of them actually got online and watched videos, and they read, but they liked the video portion, obviously. Conventions, so they found a really neat one with a exclamation and a question mark. This was remembering that the content they had to remember was science, but also writing, and so they wanted to look like an old-time person writing about science. And then this one, the development stage, was that they had a house in development. So this same icon carried through 1 through 4 for development, and each one had the same icon for it. But what happened was wonderful afterwards. My kids then, they presented, and as they presented, I gave some information as far as what I felt was a 2, a 3, or a 4. We were very honest. We have a code of conduct in here that it's very honest about our opinions. And then because they understood it so much, I put the I can statements in a LDC rubric for them. I pushed out all of the videos, the presentations, and each child then scored 2. So when they scored them, and I'll show you, I'm going to send a presentation, I'll send a couple of the rubrics. They were amazing. You could tell this wasn't just like, you're my friend, you're all 4s. It was, I appreciated how you added the main idea in every single paragraph, or several of them were, you sourced only once, you were supposed to source 2 times. So they were paying attention to every single factor of the rubric. Some of them got to the point where they were embedding videos into their presentations, and so I really liked how you added the hyena. I've never heard a hyena laugh before, so they were very specific, which I appreciated. So just little things that she helped me with created wonderful work for my kids in the end. The end result is that they really understand about animal adaptations, but also about reading and writing nonfiction. The fourth piece was many of the building blocks for remodeling literacy learning are in place. And some of the quotes I liked. One way that educators are breaking the isolation of their classrooms is by building new learning communities online, using technology to take ownership over their own professional learning in a climate where money and time for professional learning are tight. That was exactly what the virtual coaching was. I felt that it was over Christmas break. So yes, it was my own time, but it was also not, she was never, okay, get this back to me by. I would say, oh, I have something to do tomorrow. How about if I do it the next day? And she said, oh, I'm cooking Christmas dinner right now, no problem. And, it was, it's not going to take everybody wanting to say they want to do that. But then I got to choose the time. Some people might want to do it after work or during their planning period, but it was a perfect time for me to be able to really kind of think about the things I was doing in the unit. The other piece of it is that I felt like it was an independent learning experience, that even though I love the professional learning that is in Sumner, I got to choose what I wanted to do. I got to choose the unit, and I got to choose, I got to choose the collaboration is what I felt, which was it made me feel like what I was learning was more home for me. And then the other kind of an offshoot is that same trainer introduced me to, she sent my name into, there's a new website out, and I'm just going to put a little plug in there there's a new Facebook site called In My Classroom that she wanted me to be part of, and they're opening it up to anyone. If anybody wants just like In My Classroom, you can go on there, and there are a myriad of articles on Common Core. So there's LDC work in there, but it's mostly Common Core. There'll be some negative things, and then people can comment about negative, but mostly it's this is why Common Core is working. And so, LDC is a perfect example of why Common Core would work, because you're fitting it in. My kids are learning like they've never learned before. And then the last piece of the findings that you read about effective collaboration needs systemic support. Levels of trust are higher in places where collaboration is used more frequently. Well, I believe with the Sumner District, and this is off the virtual coaching topic, but we have a 90-minute late start. We've got collaboration, and it's district related some days it's building, some days it's independent, but that is systemic for us. It is built in. Our principal also, we have all planning periods the same, so we plan at least once a week together, so it's another 45 minutes. So where the graph shows that it's shrinking, I don't believe it is, at least in Victor Falls. But the piece that I thought was the support was that my principal was supportive of me going to 5 days of literacy design, and was supportive of going to the monthly fellows meeting. So I thought that was a piece. I just felt that the virtual coaching, the LDC training, now the In My Classroom, I can get on anytime I want and read an article about Common Core. It's continually making me a better teacher. It's filling my toolbox with more instructional strategies, and it's helping me with a deeper understanding of Common Core.